Man, we moving timeshares like Silverleaf and shit. Man, we full of that AI over here, man. Kinda lame.
Voila! It's your boy John Mack, aka Dr. Mindbender, back in that ass. Like two thongs on a fat bitch. I say two thongs, and that's a dedication to my man Tupac Shakur, cause he be in that ass like two thongs on a fat bitch. Well, let's get into this plot as it thickens. I promised myself I wasn't gonna cover no more of this Tupac and Biggie and Snoop shit. But as I decide not to cover it, is as things become more evident and my eyes get uncovered, whether I want them to be or not. And it is my responsibility and job to report these things to you as an international journalist by my own credentials. So, peep this out. Biggie, right, allegedly, has snipers shoot at Snoop in the dog pound when they're in New York, in Red Hook, Brooklyn. Tupac gets out of jail and tells Kurupt New York, New York is his favorite song. Then Snoop and Tupac record two of America's Most Wanted, one of the great hip-hop jams of all time. But ironically, after that, out of the hundreds of songs that Tupac allegedly did, Snoop and Tupac didn't record very much more material together for whatever reason. We come to find out later on that Snoop and Tupac had some sort of riff, but not over what we think it was for. We find out that Kurupt and Tupac, for some reason, get into an argument. And Tupac says these words: "Man, you ain't even on my fucking level. I have one of the outlaws fuck you up." And then Nate Dogg chimes in. So what are we supposed to do when that happens? Now, time out, pump your brakes. It was said by Badass, Daz, Kurupt, and even Snoop himself that they fell back on going to the Tyson game with Tupac Shakur. So tell me, why was Nate Dogg at the fight with Tupac? Why, allegedly, after Warren G opened his big mouth, did Snoop Dogg have one of the Nextels in his hand that belonged to security detail way in Los Angeles and heard the words "got him" over the radio, just like Michael Moore? That makes no sense. But let's go one further. Let's go one further that throws a whole monkey wrench in this whole goddamn case. What did Tupac and Kurupt argue about? You notice that the information is very evasive. But I'll tell you what. Tupac had several altercations with the 60s. For whatever reason, reported by Smooth B, reported by Tretch, reported by several others in the industry. Faison Love. And it was said that Tupac got to lay in those hands. And Napoleon even tells a story where Big Syke had to intervene with the 60s getting at Tupac. And this is ironic because after Tupac dies, Key to Rock of the 60s becomes a major figure at Death Row Records. Let me add one more final grenade for y'all. The name Ricardo Brown, which is the name of Kurupt, was also one of the assailants who got jammed up for the Ayanna Jackson rape with Tupac, which sent him to prison. Smell that part of the thing. November 7th, 1994. Rapper in court again today. Controversial rapper Tupac Shakur goes on trial in New York State Court today, along with two other men accused of sexually assaulting a young woman last year in a New York hotel room. Prosecutors said the woman told them that one of the attackers boasted that she was a reward for the boys, and that millions of other women would be happy to be in her situation. Police allege that Shakur, 22, and the rapper's road manager, Charles Fuller, 23, of California, forcibly sodomized and sexually abused the 20-year-old woman in Shakur's 38th floor Parker Meridian Hotel Suite in Midtown Manhattan on November 18th, 1993. The two men also face weapons charges for possession of two guns found in the suite. A third man charged in the alleged attack, Ricardo Brown, 30, of Florida, does not face weapons charges. The three have pleaded innocent. Shakur's attorney, Michael Warren, said that whatever happened in the room was consensual.
Nigga told Kurupt, he looked at me, he told Kurupt, he said, nigga, you ain't even on my level. I had a motherfucking outlaws fuck you up. And then Nate Dogg stepped up and said, what the fuck we supposed to do when that's happening? And then Dad stepped up. And then it looked like it was finna go down. And then MC Hammer stepped in and Suge stepped in and they put water on the fire and it fizzled down. But the shit.
Big style, little style, Ricky, real Long Beach insane, you know. So when Pac chose that side, it kind of divided Death Row to, they was really gangbanging up there. It was a line up there, like they was the Crips, it was the Bloods, that gangbang. And it's kind of crossed because Snoop is the one that suggested Pac even come over to Death Row. And when, you gotta remember, Snoop was fighting a murder case. So when Pac got out, he was rah, rah, rah. Let's go kick everybody ass in the East Coast. Snoop was like, nigga, I don't want no parts of that bullshit. Nigga, let's make this money and entertain these people. That's what I got from him. So Snoop, you can chime in, cuss me out, but that's just how, you know, I was there, nigga, so hanging out. I always felt when Pac died, it was because Snoop could have stopped that whole thing. I mean, because like I said, Snoop was a Crip, and Pac offended some Crips, doing some gang shit, some dumb nigga gang shit.
Kurupt, the kingpin, stick with the 6 O's. You don't need those other.
Nigga told Kurupt, he looked at me, he told Kurupt, he said, nigga, you ain't even on my level. I had a motherfucking outlaws fuck you up. And then Nate Dogg stepped up and said, what the fuck we supposed to do when that's happening? And then Dad stepped up. And then it looked like it was finna go down. And then MC Hammer stepped in and Suge stepped in and they put water on the fire and it fizzled down. But the shit.
Combs was involved in Tupac's death. He denies that.
You know, I really, really, really gotta have a real conversation with Snoop. And I know I got a bro named Jaime, he said, he be talking to Mike. It's like Mike's show. He said, Snoop just a prop, basically. But that's another shit. The reason why I gotta have a conversation with him about is that I've been doing that young dude a long time. He ain't young no more, but I've been doing it since he was a young man. And I did everything in my power to make sure he kept his freedom.
Murder was the case that they gave me. I'm innocent.
For almost 2 years, Snoop has been out on $1 million bail paid by Death Row Records.
And I knew that Pac did everything right by him by putting him on All Eyes on Me, speaking about him and being real with him. And if it's true what they say.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Face to face is going to be a lot of explaining to do.
Knight also made a number of other claims, including that Snoop Dogg told the Dog Pound rapper Daz Dillinger not to go to Vegas with the rest of the Death Row crew the night of September 7th, 1996. Suge also addressed remarks made by Warren G on Drink Champs, where he recalled him and Snoop Dogg learning about Tupac's shooting through a Nextel radio while in Los Angeles.
You know, because number one, Warren did a thing where he was on the talking, whatever the shit they be doing out there, and he said that Snoop had a radio. He was at Snoop house when the shit happened.
I heard a horn, bing, 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 honking in front of my house. I looked out the house and Snoop was outside in a white motherfucking Rolls Royce. Then he had this the Nextel back then. Remember the motherfucker? Yeah. He had the motherfucker could go that whatever it was hitting him all the way from what was going on from Vegas. And then he started getting calls and shit, and they was telling him that Tupac got shot and this, and this.
Only way you would have a radio if you was at the fight with us and you had a security detail. Now, not having a security detail, what are you doing with the radio? Two, we always go to the fight together. We always go to the club together. Even when they did that half-ass, watered-down movie on Pac, and he said, "You gonna be at the fight?" and all that type of shit. So then all of a sudden, Warren says on this thing where they listen to the radio and they hear the gunshots. And basically somebody told them we got them or they got shot or all this shit. So how would you know that, and why would you have a play-by-play on the radio?
Puff had an after party at the El Capione, that's the thing. And we was up in the VIP and shit, and some ladies was with me, my wife and her friends. So I sat them down at the table, and I asked them what they wanted to drink. So I went and bought a couple of bottles of Dom Perignon and some Hennessy. So I get back, they in my girl's chair. Snoop Dogg, Kurupt, Dash, and they dog. And I'm like, I told them, if y'all don't get y'all little ass up, you know what I'm saying?
I guess you ran into Daz?
Daz,
after the incident?
Yeah. When I got out the feds, me and my partner, Bubble Up, we went to this dude, Melvin Cherry's house to get some weed. And he got the little one-way in, like this place. And he let us in. I'm like, hey, man, you don't know who I am? Dad's like, no. I said, man, I'm Keefy D from Southside, dude. You know what I'm saying? I said I had seen his ass, we had seen him after that shit happened. At Cal State Dominguez Hill was at a celebrity game. He was up there acting a fool, like a little bitch and shit. And he don't know the Reaper. We had the Reaper with us. You know what I'm saying? The Undertaker, you know what I'm saying? And they was like, let me get him. You know what I'm saying? They wanted to noodle his ass that day, acting a damn fool. Like, man, leave that little kid alone. He don't know what he's doing. He's from Texas, really, you know. Yeah, but he was acting a fool. And Snoop Dogg was like, man, calm your ass down, dude. Get your ass.
He said, yo, man, they go Pop. Oh, yeah, him and Tretch. So they were close towards the bar. So the spot was packed. We start walking through that motherfucker. Homie. Next thing you know, it's like shit start moving in slow motion as I'm walking. I'm seeing them interacting. They talking with people. Yo, do that. And as we getting closer, I see like escalation, like in the movement. Like, yo, what, nigga, what? And I'm like, oh, wait. My niggas look like they getting made a... And boy, these niggas got to start fighting. Boop, boop, bop, boop, 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 bop. And this nigga Tretch takes this motherfucking chain off his neck and starts smacking these niggas with that lock. Bow, bow, bow. I'm like, oh! So I'm like, yo, I'm trying to get through the crowd, like, what the fuck? And again, Teddy Bling grabs me, Smooth, what the fuck is you doing? I said, yo, my niggas. He was like, Smooth, be easy. Let's get over there, but you ain't jumping in this shit.
Tupac and Big Syke had at the House of Blues with some Rolling 60s. Give me a detailed account about that incident.
Well, basically, man, that incident, you know, it was my first, what I can say, you know, my first a crip or an encounter with gang members in LA. You know, coming from Jersey, coming from the East Coast, West Coast is different. The mindset is different. The street life is different. Whole nother mindset out there. So when we walked into the House of Blues, I believe myself, Pac, Big Syke, Edie, and one of the security guards, you know, off-duty police officer or retired police officer. And while we walking in the House of Blues, there was a female, and she was just yelling at Pac, cursing him out. Pac ignored her. But I was behind Pac, so I heard her saying it, and I said some words back to her. Some disrespectful words back, you know what I mean? And while we walking, you know, we turn around and we see these dudes get up. These dudes is huge, like Shaquille O'Neal saw huge. Two of these jokers got up, and it seemed like they didn't stop getting up, you know? And they started walking towards us. And I remember I was like, oh man, but of course I can't show that I'm afraid or I have any fear, but I'm like, these dudes, it look like we're gonna need more than 5 of us to jump these 2 dudes. So I remember they started walking over, and I'm mean mugging. I'm looking, you know, I'm still 5'6". These dudes in the NBA player size, but I'm still trying to look tough. And while they walking over, I remember first I heard Pac tell the security guard, like, pull your gun out. I remember Pac wasn't afraid at all, but Pac looked at the security and said, what you doing? Pull your gun out. Like, you know what I mean? These dudes walking up on us, pull your strap out. And the security guard didn't do it. And then while they started walking, Big Syke got in their face and started talking to him, let him know, what's up, homie, this and this, I'm Big Syke. Because they was Crips. Big Syke was a Crip from IVC, Imperial Village Crips. And he started explaining what was up. And he was like, you know, that's the little homies from Jersey, this and this and that. And, you know, and then they walked away. So after that, you know, Big Syke gave me a breakdown of how, he's like, look here, bro. I know you guys from the East Coast. I know you're a little wild. You do all that crazy stuff. But here on the West Coast, the game is different, man. He said, you also have to, you never know whose sister you disrespecting. You might disrespect the sister of a stone cold murderer out here. You know what I mean? So he's like, you got to be careful, bro. You on the West Coast now. You know what I mean? So that was like my first education in the gang, the Bloods and Crips, you know, scenarios in the West Coast, man. And they might have been, both of them jokers was the same size, so they might have been brothers. And you know what I mean? So and I think Big Syke knew who they was. And if I'm not mistaken, Big Syke was the one to say these dudes from Rolling 60s.
Because we got home court advantage, you know what I mean? I'm letting look on me. Watch this stuff.
I like the old man.
We don't have no parks where I come from, in my area.
Yeah, you know why they don't have no parks? Fuck them down. We got a park though. And a store.
I was typing amazing.
Put that shit on YouTube.
Better know it.
Hey.
LA Giants.
They might not have no parks. Well, you learn how to play. Oh. Where you learn how to play at then, huh? Since y'all don't have no parks, where you learn how to play at?
I just, you know, watched a couple. I watched No.
Yeah.
No. What's the Forrest Gump?
Oh, that what you watched?
Yeah, Forrest Gump. Yeah.
Forrest Gump.
Run, Forrest, run.
He played ping pong in the movie?
Yeah, if you don't hit the net, come on.
Man, it was fast, bro.
Forrest Gump played ping pong. I return that one.
It's like that.
Hey, why is it when I make a point, I got to pick the ball up? They picking the ball up.
I never know you.
Look at that. Yeah.
Every time I get it,
Spin, baby.
Watch this.
Watch me return this
I'm
shit.
serious about this game. See that?
See how I put some heat on it.
What y'all going up to?
You know where the Serena sisters came from? They grew up in Compton.
He tried to go on you.
Hey, you know where they grew up at, right? You know where they grew up at, right? Compton. See?
What y'all going
It
up
was
to?
Compton.
I don't know.
Y'all had no tennis players in South Central.
Hustle till you tried it, you never know, it just might was incarcerated. I want to give a shout out to Kurupt and his family, man. I listen to his songs and on YouTube, it was so funny when he dissed Snoop and Doghouse.
Kurupt. Keith Thomas Parker, known on the streets as Kurupt or Kurupt, spelled without the K, is an African-American rapper who signed to Death Row Records through Suge Knight. In 2002, Kurupt released Let's Get It Crackin', which is his debut and only album. This had guest appearances by CJ Mack, Dresta the Gangsta, and Sugar Free. In addition to music, Kurupt is affiliated with the notorious Rolling 60s neighborhood Crips based in South Los Angeles. Kurupt has collaborated with many artists such as Kurupt, CJ Mack, and Swoop G. Kida was also featured on Death Row Records' Too Gangsta for TV compilation album. He also appeared in a documentary by CJ Mack entitled Sea Walk, It's a Way of Living. It features such rappers as Snoop Dogg, WC, and other members of the Crips. Kurupt street credibility and reputation precede his music legacy. In 2005, Kurupt was accused of robbing a dope dealer out of 100 pounds of marijuana. Kurupt was charged with 3 felonies: first-degree murder, reduced to second-degree murder, attempted armed robbery, and aggravated assault. Kurupt was sentenced by the Arizona Supreme Court to 16 and a half years plus an additional 7.5 years in prison. However, he proclaimed his innocence. In an industry where a gangster persona means album sales and street credibility, Keith Kurupt Parker emerges as the ultimate anti-hero. From the gritty back streets of South Central Los Angeles, he is a bona fide veteran from the notorious West Side neighborhood Rolling 60s Crip Gang. With the release of his first solo project, Let's Get It Crackin', Parker has created quite a buzz in the underground rap scene. Fresh from a stint as Suge Knight's most intimidating employee, Parker left the Row on less than cordial terms to form West Coast Hoodsters Entertainment. Can't Stop, Won't Stop. While the name may be new to most of you, Kurupt is a name well known in gang circles. The self-admitted shot caller for one of the most violent gangs in Los Angeles, Kurupt has a well-deserved reputation as a man not to be crossed. When it comes to crime, he's the ghetto equivalent of Lucky Luciano. From pimping to drug dealing, assault to murder, the 6-foot, 6-star general has done it all. Parker joined the Rolling Crips shortly after the inception of the Crip Gang in 1974. Parker joined the Crips at a time when the gang was still run by 2 strong commanders, Raymond Lee Washington, the leader out of the East Side Troops, and Stanley Williams out of Compton, controlled the West Side. It was example of these men, the original Crip soldiers, with names like Big Jamel, Big Jackie, Mad Bull, Mad Dog, Okie, Number One, and Mac Thomas, which a young Kurupt learned how to walk, talk, and act like a Crip. With the removal of Raymond Washington and Stanley Williams in 1979, Crip-on-Crip violence exploded. At the forefront of the battles was the war between the Rolling 60s and the A-Tray Crips. I'm not a hoodster, not a gangster. Don't get it twisted. Initially, the Rolling 60s and A-Tray Gangster Crips were close allies. A petty beef over a girl at a high school party erupted into a war which has spanned past 3 decades. During the early battles, Key to Rock earned his stripes as a frontline soldier alongside Keystone Thomas, T-Quan Lil Fee, Cox, and Kevin Big Cat Duchette, and Stanford Mumbles Bursey. With the war in full bloom, Parker was arrested for the murder of a member of A-Trace and removed from the scene for several years in 1983. When he returned to his beloved gang, he found it decimated by the ravages of war. Stone was murdered shortly after his release in the drug deal gone bad in 1992. Lil Fee was a resident of San Quentin's death row, having been convicted of the Alexander family murders in 1984. Mumbles had served a prison sentence and fallen victim to the ETG gunman after his release, and Big Cat himself had been in and out of prison. The music business. In a recent interview, Parker said he entered the music business in 1993. His initial foray began at a label called Breakaway Records. Death Row had just released its initial release, the multi-platinum selling Chronic album by Dr. Dre. And one of the most interesting figures making a guest appearance on the project was an unsigned R&B singer known as Nathaniel Hale. Hale, or Nate Dogg, as he is more commonly known, was a friend of Death Row budding superstar Calvin Broadus and had been a member of a trio known as 213 prior to Snoop's meteoric rise. For reasons unknown, 2/3 of the group, Dr. Dre's younger half-brother Warren Griffith and Hale, had not signed with the label. Warren G had secured an independent deal, and Nate Dogg soon found a home at Breakaway. The deal, which brought Nate Dogg to Breakaway Records, illustrates just how far the Crips have progressed since the days of Raymond Washington and Stanley Williams drove the Crip car. Parker says he had a homeboy working with A&R at Breakaway, and through him, Key to Rock sent word to Breakaway CEO Dave McSeary that he could secure Nate Dogg for the label. Parker approached 19th Street Crip gang leader Christopher Big C-Style Bowden for help in delivering Nate Dogg to Breakaway. Both Key to Rock and Big C-Style pledged allegiance to the neighborhood Crip gang alliance, which undoubtedly played a role in reaching an agreement which sped along the deal. McSeary eagerly jumped at the deal and soon signed Nate Dogg to a recording contract, and Key to Rock was hired to handle artist relations at the label. During his stint with Breakaway, Parker discovered female rapper Eve, now recording at Rough Rider Records. The Cash Money Millionaires Universal Music, and with help of Bowden, secured Crooked Eye, a Long Beach rapper, currently pegged as the man who will bring the road back to the forefront of the rap genre. In spite of promising lineup of performers, the Breakaway label folded after several lawsuits and financial difficulties emerged. On to Death Row. Impressed with the track record Parker put up at Breakaway, Suge quickly hired Parker and gave him the same position he had at Breakaway. Suge's infatuation with all things gangster more than likely led to his pursuit of Key to Rock, who soon became a dominating force at the label. According to the LAPD and Metro Police in Las Vegas, Knight hired many members of Parker's gang while he was employed at Death Row. Parker is said to have used his legion of soldiers, including a large faction in Vegas, to commit crimes on behalf of Death Row, unknown to the general public. Key to Rock's presence in Death Row camp made Suge Knight one of the most powerful crime figures in Los Angeles. Drugs and guns were shipped out of state. The Rolling 60s, who specialized in bank robberies, began targeting Las Vegas robbed an undercover LAPD officer during a drug sting. Suge Knight and his new employee were an unlikely pairing, as Suge Knight, in spite of his industry reputation, was a mere gang associate who had schemed his way to the top on the back of imprisoned drug lord Michael Harris. Once the money started rolling in, Suge and Harris's attorney, David Kenner, decided to cut Harry-O out of the deal and pocket the incredible sums rolling in. Kid Rock's presence offered Suge and Kenner some protection against possible retribution from Harris, who had been a partner of Brian Bo Bennett, a drug dealer with ties to the 60s gang. Betrayed. Once Suge went to prison and death row fortunes began to fade, the original roster of platinum-selling artists began to abandon the sinking ship. With the feds looking into the activities of death row employees, including a batch of rogue LAPD cops from the Rampart station, Key to Rock organized the controversial Death Row project, Too Gangsta for Radio. This is one of the few death row releases not recorded by Tupac Shakur during Knight's incarceration. Most of the artists who participated in the recording sessions were connected to neighborhood Crip sets, including Gangsta Dresta from Nutty Block Crips in Compton, and formerly an artist on Eazy-E's Ruthless Records label.
Inside the minds of real G's, death row is looked upon as the studio gangsters of the 90s. A joke in a game called 5 Minutes of Fame. You wasted 4 minutes, now you got seconds left. Kick it. Come on, now let me ride, nigga. Eazy-E, CPT, how the hell you figure to be the best on the west? Yeah, fool, I doubt it. This is Eastside, nigga, South Compton, and I put it on the map. So what up, Dog Pound Crip? You wanna scrap? And that's coming straight from the ruthless gangster Eazy-E. Now what will I do? Let's see. Now I would take out Sugar, stomp down the road. Since Dre is a bitch, pimp slap that hoe. Now I'm seeing doubles, oh man, 2 dogs in a huddle. Oh goddamn. Now diggity diggity dash, I biggity blast. Don't want smoke that ass. Now Kurupt, don't even set trip. Yelling Long Beach 6-0 blood and puppy pound grip.
His proteges, known as the Young Hogs, and CJ Mack, a Rolling 60s gang member with 2 albums recorded previously on Mac 10's record label, along with several other lesser-known figures. This project also featured the talents of Crooked I, the artist who Key to Rock had brought over to Death Row from Breakaway Records by way of Long Beach's Low Life Records. Parker remained a staunch supporter of Crooked I, who was under contract with the Row, but has been left in limbo as Suge Knight struggles to find distribution for the artist's completed project, Say Hi to the Bad Guy. In spite of his contractual obligation to the Row, his original supporters in Christopher Bowden and the Low Life staff hover in the background. West Coast Hoodster Entertainment. The success of the Two Gangsta project made Key to Rock a hot property in the music industry, and he took full advantage to secure a deal for his own label through his old friend Dave Mike Siri. Mike Siri had moved on to American Music Corporation, agreed to advance Parker $250,000 in return for 2 record compilation projects. Key to Rock set about arranging for several artists to make guest appearances on the project, but 5 days into the 30-day project, Parker was left holding the bag. He began writing verses to songs himself and turned to his old friend Big C Style for help. Bowden loaned Parker a group called the Los Lives, who recorded several songs on Bowden's failed 19th Street Records label before moving on to Low Life Records, which is also curiously connected to the omnipresent figure. Key to Rock secured an old track from his homie Gangsta Dresta for $3,000, which promptly went toward lawyer fees for the troubled rapper. Pomona pimp turned rapper Sugar Free and aforementioned CJ Mack also answered the call. Two female rappers among the early signees to WCH are featured on several tracks. All told, 13 tracks later, Keith Parker, gang leader turned record company exec, is making moves and doing it big.